Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week, we're going to break down and wrap up 2 weekends worth of events, and then we're going to finish off with a little preview of a big weekend that's to come. All right, let's start with the girls wrestling tournament. All right, so this weekend, PA had its first sanctioned girls state championship for high school wrestling, and there were 2 Stout PGH students representing their respective high schools in the state championships. We had Sophia Davis representing Plum. She's a sophomore at 124 pounds. And we had Asia Fowler representing Woodland Hills, who was a senior at 130 pounds. So one of the unique things about girls wrestling is that it's one classification. Whereas the boys, there's 2 classifications. There's AA and AAA. You know, AA is smaller schools, AAA is bigger schools. There's like a threshold line that determines on if you're AA or if you're AAA. Like if you have, I don't know exactly how it works, but I believe they take 2 years of graduating classes and they count the number of boys in that, and then that determines like, you know, which one you would be in. So some schools who kind of like flirt with that line, and I'd imagine that line changes here and there to kind of like even out those divisions,
right?
Because you wouldn't want like one division to have like
90%,
300, 90% of the schools. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to point it. But in girls wrestling, it's all in one, so it's a true state champion.
Gotcha.
You know, it's true state champion. And you know, our girls had quite an impressive performance, both earning medals, becoming all-state wrestlers.
Wow.
Which is cool, like making history, the first ever you know, state tournament. Sophia placed 4th in the state, like I said, only a sophomore, and I believe the state champion in her division was a senior. She also, the state champion in her division, sung the national anthem before the finals.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that's a pretty like cool thing. So like, you know, things are looking good for her, and you know, and Asia finished off her career with a 6th place medal at the state, like, you know, 6th place in all of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also you know, both girls are a little newer to wrestling as well. Sophia has done jiu-jitsu for, I would say, a substantial amount of time, but this was her 3rd season wrestling. She started in 8th grade.
Wow.
And Asia, as a senior, this is only her 2nd season wrestling.
That's great.
And she hadn't really been doing jiu-jitsu for like a long, like she didn't like grow up doing jiu-jitsu either. But you know, she's got tons of potential and tons of talent. I was told she plans on wrestling in college, and I really, really hope she does, because she's got tons of untapped potential, right? She placed 6th in the state, honestly making like a ton of mistakes. You know what I mean? Like making a ton of mistakes, and I'm just like, wow. I'm like, in overcoming that, like, like, you know, like winning big matches in spite of that, and I'm like, wow, like I don't even know if she knows how good she can be. You know what I mean? Like,
that's awesome.
Like a lot of easy cleanup there,
right?
Like, yeah, and you know, she'd do really good. And you know, Sophia, you know, she wrestled really tough. She actually did the same thing that Brady Joling did last year. She lost her first match, and then won 5 in a row to get back into the 3rd place match before dropping that one. And that's exactly that's the hard way back.
Yeah.
If someone does that and then takes 3rd, they're called, they get like this term called the road warrior, right? Because it's the most matches that you can wrestle in the tournament. Because if you get dropped back into the consolation bracket, then for every round in the, you know, championship bracket, there's 2 rounds of consolations.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? To like, because you got to keep knocking them off and stuff. So she had a tremendous tournament as well, and she still got 2 seasons left. And I'm sure, I couldn't see her not winning at least one state title. You know,
That's sick.
She's really good, and the amount of improvement she made between last year and this year is very drastic. I'm gonna miss this right now. Okay, I believe she ended up finishing the season then 34-4.
That's incredible.
Right, because she went in 29-2. I'm pretty sure she won 5 matches on the backside with 2 losses. The opening round loss, which the girl she ended up losing to in the opening round ended up not placing. You know, she lost the next match, you know, to the girl who became the eventual state runner-up. And then lost a match, therefore, after, to a girl that also placed lower than Sophia. You know, so I think there was a little bit of a like maybe like a little bit of nerves.
Yeah.
You know, some mindset training there. I don't definitely don't think it was a, a skill issue.
Thing, right.
Yeah, I mean, like even watching the match, I was like, oh man, it's you know, it's one thing when your athlete gets beat by someone better than them, as we may talk about later. But it's another thing when your athlete gets beat by themselves.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I kind of felt that way with the first match. You know, but she's young. You know, she'll make a tons of progress in all those areas, and that's a roller coaster road anyhow. You know,
Sure is.
like dealing with like mental hurdles and stuff. Like you think you overcame them, but now the stakes are bigger, so now they're back.
Right.
And, like, you know, as we'll probably talk about later, you know, like owning that good mental state. It was actually a bad term, owning it. It's a rental.
Right. Yeah.
It's a rental. Yeah, but really proud of both of them. Looking forward to seeing what's up with both of their futures.
Yeah, that's super impressive.
Right on. All right, so let's jump into some MMA. Last weekend, March the 9th, down in Kentucky,
Yep.
we had Luke Martin and Anthony Hogbeck fighting for New Line Cage Fighting. Sad story. Sad story. I missed it. I got the pneumonia. I was down bad. I was down bad. It killed me to miss it too. It killed me to miss it. I sent them both a message. I was heartbroken that, you know, because I knew it was going to be a good trip. I knew it was going to be fun. Me and you were going to have a nice long car ride there and back, have some fun during that. And I knew I really liked the matchups.
Yep.
I thought it would be a relatively stress-free night. But I was replaced by one Josh Ramirez.
He stepped up last minute.
Right. And then you know, Coach Will, you know, ran the head coach.
Took care of things.
So Will, since you were actually there, tell me how it went.
Well, first of all, I barely took care of things because that's when I've got like this crazy stinger. That's when it was in like full effect, and I'm like trying to hold pads, like I can't do it.
Oh, yeah, I'd have made Ramirez do all that. I would have.
Oh, he did a lot of it, but
I was gonna say I wouldn't.
I did a little bit.
I wouldn't even have broke a sweat. Dude. That's what them kids are for.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a great card, like you said, very low stress. You know, drove down and, you know, the guys were on weight already. Everything's ready to go.
Yeah, I believe they did day before weigh-ins,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I was surprised about. I was under the impression they were day of weigh-ins.
I had no idea, dude. It's just been like a whirlwind of fights for me. I can't keep any of it straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, show up. They're pretty much ready to go. I shouldn't say that. It started out really slow. Like they were like, "Oh, we're behind on this. The rules meeting's going late," which is like very typical MMA.
The rules meeting went late last night. Like it started.
Yeah.
The rules meeting started when the fights were supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's just kind of how it always goes. And yeah, like I thought everything was, you know, going to keep going at like that pace. The other thing is they're running a jiu-jitsu card right before that, and then they've got some kickboxing fights mixed in as well. So it's like kind of weird, but it was just like nonstop, you know, kept going right after that. So 2 fights dropped out, but they didn't come and tell us. So I'm sitting in the back like, we've got plenty of time, guys. And then I like went out to check, and they're like, oh yeah, we're on this fight. And I was like, we don't have any time. Let's go. And I'm wrapping hands real quick. I'm like, get warm, wrapping more hands. Let's go. And it ended up being like just the perfect amount. Like I got Luke Martin wrapped. And then he like went straight to warm-ups with Ramirez and like just broke a sweat. Boom, out. So he fought a kid who his brother fought Lucas.
Lucas Siebert.
And
they fought last May in Bridgeport, West Virginia, for the
like that,
New Line bantamweight title.
That's right, yeah. So the older brother, I guess, or maybe the bigger brother, was fighting
Luke
Martin. And their whole team was like trying to like kind of like intimidate us and stuff. So we're in like the staging area. One of the cornermen is like clapping at me like, one more fight. I'm like, dude, I don't know why you're trying to like get in my head. I'm just standing here.
It's like, right on, dude. This is gonna be really easy.
Yeah, I was like, all right. I mean,
you're a hillbilly. We fight for real.
They're gonna fight regardless. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why you're like, you're not gonna get in my head. I'm just chilling, dude.
Yeah.
But so we got. Also, you're not gonna get in Luke Martin's head. This dude is a competitor.
He's a national champion.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not gonna matter. So
God.
we walk first. We're in the cage, and you know we're just like calm and happy. Like that's kind of like our team's vibe in the back. It's like calm, happy. You know, like just having a good time because it's what we like to do. So you know we kept that energy. Go into the corner. Luke gets in, their whole squad comes out, they're chirping, they're yelling at him, Luke's
Giving him the birds.
And then so his opponent came out like super hot, ran to the middle of the cage, pressures him up, starts ripping some low kicks. A couple of them were landing. They were like pretty heavy low kicks too. And that went on for a little while until Luke got a hold of him, and then it was just it was a wrap. He just ragdolled him.
There was a pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, you saw the fights.
So yeah, I saw the fights. Yeah, one of the things about like Luke is like his throws, they look fake.
Dude,
do they not look fake? It's like, did that dude jump for you? Like,
dude, it was okay. The one I'm going to talk about is at the end of the first. So he like held him down for most of the round.
The outside trip.
Yeah. Dude stands up, and like the second he's up, Luke Martin just boom hit him with this outside trip that I thought he just fell. Like, I thought Luke fell and just happened to like pull him down. And then like as he was falling, I saw that his like leg was wrapped around. I was like, oh
yeah. He goes to he like uses the underhook, and he goes to the overhook side, and he really brings it across the top. He pops the hips.
Yeah, and like brings him over top of him, and then like turns in the air.
Yeah. He gets that hip pop, so it removes the feet from the mat, and then he gets some good arc on it.
Yeah, but like what was
he makes it look so like it looks fake to me.
Exactly.
It's like so effortless, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I throw people like that too. It doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
There's looks like a lot. Like there's a lot more effort when I do it. Like I'm like
Well, so that throw in particular, what I thought was good about it was like, this kid clearly wanted to keep things standing, and like the second he stood up, boom, right back down. I was like, oh, I know that's just like ruining his head.
Oh yeah.
So next round, more of the same. Kids trying to throw some low kicks, but Luke just snatches him up real quick. I think he blasted a double in the middle of the cage and just ran through him. And then he's just ground and pounding him. He brings him over to our corner. And
dude, I'm so jealous of that. Like I could have I could have done such good work there. Like that is like, as a coach, that is where I shine.
Oh yeah.
He's like right there. I would have been living the good life, especially like where it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you say. But I would have just been like, I don't know. That's what I look forward to in fights.
Yes.
It's like you being right there and me just being like, all right, dude, follow this step by step, and then just ruin them.
And he did. Like he was there. We were like, all right, Ramirez is giving him good advice. Sit on the leg here. Start opening up, posture up, get some ground and pound. And at one point, the kid starts standing up, and Luke just goes to lift him. And I forget if it was at this exact moment or like the same thing happening right after. But like as the kid's standing up, I was like, Luke, if he stands, lift him. If he sits, take his back. And I could just like feel this kid like
the fact that like there's no way out. It's like, oh my god, you have an answer for whichever thing I do.
Yeah, and like in that moment, it's crazy. You can feel that. Like, and I just felt him like not be comfortable anymore. And he like started to stand up, and Luke went to go lift him, and he sat back down himself. And then that's when Luke just started taking over, got on top of him, big ground and pound.
Yeah,
and
the ref like came in, and I was like, he's like the ref came in and like. It looked like he was going to stop it. Like he came in and like put his hand in between and then pulled back.
I think I said like it's over. Like, and that maybe that's why he was like, oh. But I was like, yeah, you're going to finish here. And like I just started screaming, he's flat, like he can't get up, something like that. And at that point, I could just feel that kid broke, and that was that.
Yeah.
So excellent win for young Luke Martin.
Yeah.
And then right after that, we had.
Well, I was surprised that there was no post-fight issues. Because, like, I was expecting, like, a post-fight issue there.
Dude, everyone on their team came up to us and was like, oh, it's all respect, blah, blah, blah.
But why do you do this stuff beforehand? Because, like, that makes me, I'm going to be planning to fight you after this fight.
I mean, dude, that's not how I operate, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just chill with everyone the whole time. Like, especially, like, someone else's coach. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, even if our fighters are, like, trash talking and stuff, like,
yeah,
that has nothing to do with us. You know what I mean?
Like a coach issue type thing.
Yeah,
no.
like just be cool.
I mean, is this your how attached are you? Is this your only fighter that you'll ever have ever? So is this you living through?
This is your one chance.
What is like are you living through your fighter? Like is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
because like I want the best for all my fighters, but like. I first off don't plan on you being my only fighter, right? Like I'm a professional coach, and I, like I'm not like I want you to live your life. Like I want you to live like your fight career is yours
independently.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like and like right now, the way I look at it is like we got a great stable of fighters, a lot of great young fighters. But dude, they're gonna be retired, and I'm still gonna be coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Dude.
I'm gonna have a whole nother state. Like every single person who we are coaching right now will be retired, and we will not be, and we will. There'll be a whole group of people who haven't even started.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
dude. Not only that, even if I only had one fighter, I still wouldn't act like that. Like,
yeah,
I don't like.
Well, I'm just trying to get in the mindset like, what even gets you to that point?
Dude, that they were just all fired up. I don't know, but
I mean, I guess whatever gets you your
well, here's the thing, dude.
mojo going.
99.9% of the time, when like there's a whole team around that fighter that has that energy, I'm like, oh, he's trying to convince himself. You know what I mean? And that just like tells me that like they might come out hot, but they will break, and that's exactly what happens.
That's what you see all the time too. Is like they come out hot, and then like
if you can weather the storm, they will
fizzles
break.
off like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right, so great fight, Luke. A lot of really good stuff in there. A lot of room for improvement in all aspects still.
Which is, we talk about this all the time. That's what you want. You want wins where you
also get to learn from.
Exactly.
So one of the other things is like Luke hasn't been able to train as much because it was wrestling season. And I told him, I was like, you're living the same life I did, right? Like I was a wrestling coach for 8 seasons in the middle of my career, right? Actually, at the beginning of my career, my first season as a wrestling coach, I took my first amateur fight, and it actually happened to be on the same day as the match. I coached a match, and this was when weigh-ins were at 4 p.m. and fights were at 7.
Yeah,
I coached a match, drove to Youngstown, weighed in, and fought.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, coaching, like, is gonna be like a little bit more than I think you think. And it's going to take up a little bit more of your time and definitely a lot of your energy, so like he didn't like, I typically would prefer in other situations, I would like be like, let's wait till fight. Like, you know what I mean? But I was like, you're a national champ. Yeah.
You'll make it happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like even though as good as Luke looked in that fight, I think that's the worst version of him we'll ever see.
I agree.
I
agree.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for Luke. He's going to keep improving.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you want to take us on to Hound Dog?
Yeah, it's going to be a short one because the fight was very short. Hound Dog gets out there, and no animosity between him and the opponent at all. Everyone was cool. Like, where do you even start? They bounced around a little bit. Hound Dog landed, I think, a nice 1-2. And then his opponent, like...
rushes him.
Yeah, just, like, pressed him up into the cage. Sort of changed levels. And Hound Dog just slung on a high elbow guillotine.
Well, he got a takedown. And I really like the takedown Hound Dog did. So, like, he was against cage. He reversed the position, put his opponent against cage. And right then, like, I was, like, my, like, coaching through the internet here. Like, when I'm watching this on the pay-per-view, I'm, like disengage.
That's what I was screaming. I was like, dude, separate, strike.
Disengage, right? Because like I wanted to see him strike a little more. And then he drops down and he goes head outside single, right? And people love to hate head outside singles. And I'm here to tell you that is a good move. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're vulnerable for a guillotine. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, what are you doing in a fight that you're not vulnerable for something? Right, like this can be a very strong position. You can go single to double real easy, like all types of stuff. So he runs a head outside single, runs a nice crackdown finish, puts him on his back, brings the hips right in. He's on the right side half guard, immediately goes over the neck because he's on the right side. So that's his preferred guillotine hand, I would say. So he immediately goes over the head, boom, starts applying it. They turn up, he comes to the feet, and he just runs it 2 for 2 with that guillotine. So both his last 2 wins were that guillotine finish.
And dude, it was like, I don't know, 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah.
It was quick. When he ran him up to the feet, I was screaming, let him go, let him go. Because I was like, that's over. Yeah. That fight's over. And I was just like, we need more fight.
Yeah, yeah.
We need more fight.
You
Like,
need more
dude,
cage time.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, dude. So I literally was like, let it go, let it go.
I called you right after, and you told me that. I was like, dude, that's hilarious.
Like, it reminds me of like, so like sometimes when you want your wrestler to get more like mat time or whatever, right? Like, you know, perhaps he gets the takedown, he's working for a turn or whatever. You may be like, hey, let's get some more work on our feet, cut him, you know, and then you get some more takedowns in and stuff. Like, I was feeling like that with that fight. I was like, let's get some more work up here, like, let's cut him.
Yeah.
But hey,
A win's a win.
a win's a win.
Well, and I think that I think Mr. Hoagie had the same thought, because right after he came up to me and he like looked so like depressed, and he was like, yeah, I'm sorry I finished that so fast. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, hey, you got to take the W's where you can.
Like, yeah, I mean, that is true. And like, you know, I'm very proud of him and stuff. But like, I'm glad that like he thought the same as me. I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, man, we were trying to fight a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I would prefer to see a little more striking. But hey, a 30-second win is a 30-second win. I'll take it.
It is,
so.
yeah.
And then the worst part of the whole night, because that was all good stuff, is so that was the night Sean O'Malley was fighting, right?
Yeah.
These young kids, they love Sean O'Malley.
They love
I'm like, all right, boys, like, where are we watching the fight? And they're all like, we're going home. So it's like 8:30. There's a 4.5 hour
Ramirez is
drive.
like, I work in the morning.
Dude, shout out to Ramirez. That's savage. He stepped up on short notice.
Yeah.
Drove up 4.5 hours and then drove right back immediately after. Worked the next morning. Like, dude, what a beast. Also, like, we didn't know when those fights were going to end. There were like 20-some fights. We could have been there till 11.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. But anyways, they're all bouncing, and I'm like, well, I'm not staying here by myself. So then I drove home. Dude, this stinger was so bad. I drove the whole way like this.
Yeah, dude.
But anyways, yeah, overall, good trip.
Yeah, so that was last weekend. That was last...
Yeah,
last weekend. Well, I mean...
Depending when this comes out, yeah.
Well, this is coming out mañana, right?
It's either today or tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, maybe even today. This might come out today.
Yeah.
Today is St. Patrick's Day. It is March the 17th.
Right on.
Green pants.
I don't got anything green.
Haters. All right. So we could move into the fights this weekend, but let's take a little pit stop for Thursday night. Thursday night we had a little wrestling clinic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that I wanted to talk about this. I'm glad it popped into my head. So anybody who purchased a ticket to Lucas Siebert's 247 fight gained access to this wrestling clinic that we put on down in the Strip District. The clinicians were myself, Lucas, obviously, Ramirez, and Luke Martin.
Yep.
Right? So pretty star-studded.
Talented group of grapplers.
Yeah, you know, and the cool thing is like, other than the kids, not a lot of people have got to learn from the three,
right?
You know, those three guys. So
I thought you were calling them the kids.
Well, they are the kids. I mean,
you mean
other than the children,
right? Yeah,
because you know, Lucas teaches kids in Monroeville and the Strip, and Ramirez teaches kids.
No, I get where you're going with now.
Yeah. So it's a lot of the adult grapplers' first experience learning from the three of them, and you know, I thought they did a really great job. You know, I went over a snap down, which worked well right into Luke Martin has a really great overtie slide by. He hit it twice in the national finals in the first period. You can watch that on YouTube.
That's sick.
Yeah. And then Ramirez showed a duck that kind of like worked in with it. And then Lucas showed his low single and low double, you know, to kind of like wrap it all up. But it was a really great turnout. You know, we posted some pictures online and stuff. Check those out. And, you know, I thought it was really great, you know, to get that support for these fighters. You know, it's a big deal. Supporting these fighters, especially as they turn pro, it's a big deal in the opportunities that they get.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If you're a ticket seller, you know, you get more opportunities. If you're a needle mover, you get more opportunities, you know. A 3-0 guy and a 3-0 guy, they are not the same.
Nope.
They are not the same in the opportunities you get, honestly. Like, you know, and like we want what's best for our fighters. We want them to get every opportunity that they can, you know. Like we don't want to have sour grapes at the end of a career being like, man, we just like the ball just didn't roll to our side of the court. Like, you know, like we didn't get our chance.
Right.
You know,
sometimes you got to make those chances.
Yeah, sometimes you got to make those chances. And so what we did was we were like, hey, let's incentivize some sales here. Let's offer something to it. So yeah, it was a really great turnout. Thought it went really well. I thought a lot of people were exposed to the three of them. And they are available for private lessons. If you partook, or if you wish you partook, you wish you bought a ticket and you want to see what it's about, all three of them are available for private lessons, all incredibly credentialed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Lucas goes without saying, now currently 1-0 as a pro, 6-0 total overall, 2-division amateur champion. Luke Martin is 2-0 now as an amateur, but he's a national champion, NCAA national champion. And then Josh Ramirez is he's like a world-class brown belt, and he was a 4-time state champion. So he's got
the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu.
And the understanding of how they work together.
And what's interesting about him is his jiu-jitsu doesn't look like wrestler jiu-jitsu. It's not just smash. He's got very pretty jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't see that from wrestlers.
Yeah, definitely. So, keep an eye out for them, message them, talk to them about privates if you're interested in learning from them.
Right on.
All right, so let's jump into last night.
Last night's fights.
Last night we were in Morgantown, West Virginia for a made men card. My man Angelo, love that guy. And we had 3 of our fighters on the card. You want to start us off with Josh?
Yeah, so Josh Visoki made his return to the cage after, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that?
20 months.
Yeah, and ring rust was not an issue for Josh. He kept telling me leading up to the fight, he was like, yep, I'm going to get good position standing up, and I'm going to crack him with that left hand, and that's going to be it. And I was like, right on, dude. That's exactly what I want to see happen. And boy, did it. He goes out there, probably 10 seconds in, cracks this dude, and the guy's clearly hurt. He goes down. Josh gets on top of him, starts landing vicious ground and
Great
pound.
finishing, execution.
Yeah, just shark in the water.
Yeah, just blood, finish. And dude, some of the hardest ground and pound, at the end.
Dude.
Complete turnover of the chest, just bringing heat while utilizing the hips to maintain the top. It was a really, really, really great finish.
You know what the sound of the punches reminded me of? It reminded me of Fedor.
Oh yeah,
that sickly,
hollow thud.
Yeah,
that hollow thud.
And you're just
that you can just hear the brain.
You can feel it,
dude. Yeah,
dude. There's, you can obviously improve your power. You can do strength conditioning. You can work on your technique, but there is a part of power that is just you got it or you don't.
Yeah,
and Josh has all of it.
Yeah,
it is unbelievable how hard he hits.
Yeah.
And that fight could have been stopped, 5 seconds earlier in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it was rough.
Yeah, so, not much to talk about because it was only 30 seconds maybe.
30 seconds. You can watch the whole fight on his, Instagram stories, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Josh had a nice little shout out to your career with hitting the hula.
Oh, he hit the hula. Yeah. So he hit the hula in Johnstown when he after that one spectacular standing knockout. But I was on vacation, so I missed that fight. So he hopped up, hit the hula. I saw it obviously on the cameras. But I got to see it in person this time. Yeah.
So if Josh stays active, he can
Yeah. If he stays in the right frame of mind, stays disciplined, stays focused. He's his own. It's all up to him. He's in charge of his future.
Absolutely.
As far as that goes, you know what I mean. It's about buckling down and not wasting 20 months. So. But I spoke with him about that, and I've got high hopes for him moving forward. And he might have some cool announcements coming up as well that hopefully keep him motivated and keep him, disciplined.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Josh, we expect to see big things out of you.
Yeah.
So moving on, you want to take us with...
So Tim Bailey, Tim has just been looking so good in training. There was a moment last summer, so we're coming up close to a year ago, I would say like maybe like last June, where he just like hit a different stride, and we were like, oh my god. At the
Yeah.
time, he was a 2-2 amateur, so it was like okay, like you know, and he did fight. He fought in that his second loss. He fought a very good opponent who ended up going on and winning a couple belts, or at least a belt. You know, so like tough opponents and stuff. And then he just like changed,
Yeah.
started putting things
Leveled
together, like just leveled up. And I was like, damn. I was like, we got to get you busy. We got to get you busy. So he had a fight in September where he didn't really get to show like a lot of his game because environmental
Yes.
circumstances. Yeah, the cage was outside in a parking lot as the night grew. Vinyl cover,
It was very hot, very humid.
very humid. It got damp, and it was like an ice skating rink. They had to stop a couple fights to like re-wipe it down and stuff. And so it was tough to like have like a good showing there. But he adapted, got to his clinch, swept, took the back, got the rear naked choke finish. So trying to keep him busy. It was like, well, dude, immediately, like that was September. Like I was like October, we like accepted some fights. Okay, they all fell through. December, we accepted some fights. They all fell through. February, we accepted some fights. They all fell through. March, we finally get this fight. He fights a kid from Chicago, 4-1, tough guy. But like those were the fights that like I was looking for Tim. I was like, yeah, like they would send me opponents for him, and I would just say yes.
Yeah, dude.
Like they're like because so the way it works, typically is a promoter if the coach is doing like some of the matching, you know what I mean. The promoter will message the coach and be like, hey, look up this guy for Tim Bailey, for example, right? And so you go on their Tapology, you check out their record, you kind of see who they fought, you see if you can match up some of those dates with some video. You watch like a little bit of video, and depending on like the level of the fight determines like how much time you're going to invest on that. Like for amateur fights, like I'm not investing a ton of time on that.
Yeah.
That's not what amateurs is about.
Exactly.
Right? Amateurs is about is going in there getting part of me is like as an amateur, go fight your schedule. You know what I mean? Like you go fight your schedule. Like if you were on a wrestling team, right? You can't turn down a match, be like, I don't know if I'm ready for this guy. Like, dude, it's on your schedule. You wrestle it. You wrestle that match. This is amateurs. Like we're here to get the experience. So I do, but I mean, like I don't want like a fighter to be like mismatched to where it like not ruins their career, but like stunts their growth.
Right.
Yeah,
we're not going to say yes.
At this point in time with Tim,
yeah,
I wasn't even looking these people. I just said yes.
I would see group
look
texts.
Yeah.
And it would, it would be like, hey, look up so and so for Tim, and like 2 seconds later, Mike would be like, yes, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Like the text would come through 4:41 p.m. My response would come through 4:41 p.m. Like we accept.
Yep.
We take it. Yeah, because he's that level.
He sure is.
He's that level of fighter. Like it doesn't matter if you're an amateur fighter in his weight class. It's good. Like we are good.
Yep.
Yeah, we are good with it. Like I don't need to worry about like how good you are.
Right.
Because that's who we're trying to fight.
Exactly.
So like you could be great, you could be mid, doesn't matter. Like we're fighting you. Yeah. So it was a tough guy, good fight, decent skills. The first round comes out. They kind of exchange briefly, kind of clash into a clinch. Tim, why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
Tim hits his sweep. Tim's been really, really good at hitting those sweeps recently. And he gets him down. I'm trying to remember all the details now, but like they're scrambling. I think he was on top for a little bit. And
he was on top.
Then he ended up in a scramble on bottom half, I believe.
No, they ended up like Tim ended up on top there. Guy started turning over to get up. Tim's like hunting the back. But here goes the thing, like that's what you do in MMA now. Like to get up, like you expose your back, all right? There's some like technique and strategy involved there, understanding chest to back connection, how to make it difficult to control it and stuff. But like it is hard to get up from a guard.
Yeah.
It is hard to get up from a guard. So right now the wisest thing to do is to turn.
Yeah, and it's not like the early 2000s anymore either, where you can just like, oh, let me throw up a triangle, and maybe this dude has only trained triangles once. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's
People
not like
are too complete. So the guy ends up getting up, and they're back to like striking and stuff.
Okay, yeah. So then
they get back in a clinch, and I feel like at this point in time in the clinch, I feel like Tim was like looking for the sweep now, right?
Yes.
And like instead of like fighting in the clinch, he was like looking for like, okay, like when he does this, that's when I sweep him.
And that's the thing is, it's one of the certain sweeps. It's one of those things where you kind of have to like, in some aspects, you can obviously force it, but like you kind of have to wait for someone to do, either like throw a knee or put their weight on that side. And so I think that's what you're getting at, is he was like kind of waiting for that situation as opposed to like, you know, doing other things while waiting for it.
Yeah.
During those striking exchanges, is that when he wobbled that kid?
No, no,
Okay.
We were not there yet. So then, in the clinch, I felt like he was a little like less active, like looking for the sweep, as I was just saying. The other guy was active and wasn't giving Tim his cue for this, for whatever cue Tim looks for that sweep, which I'm assuming is a same side knee. So anyhow, they get pressed to the cage. Kid executes a nice double leg, locks the hands, brings it down, and takes it right to the mount. Takes it right to the mount. So very good execution there. Some lack of execution on Tim's side, and now you're underneath in a dominant position. So this is going to be a hard hole to climb out of. Number one, you're in a finishing position. This is a position that people get finished from because one of the most important tools that you have to escape the mount position is your arms, right? Framing up, like controlling a post, or framing up to like start utilizing your legs to escape out of the mount. And if you're utilizing your arms in that manner, what is protecting you?
Nothing.
It's a tough spot. So what you often see here is people turn over to turtle, hopefully not allowing both hooks to go in at the same time, and then utilizing that as a stand-up position. Tim was able to utilize a combination of bridging to keep his opponent's hands busy with positional things so that they weren't striking as much. And he was able to utilize that and use his elbow escape to get to a half guard, in which he used his half guard to create a scramble to get to the feet. But he is losing that round.
Yeah.
At that point in time, you have been mounted. You're losing that round. You know what I mean? So you got to come back and steal it, He did. He wobbled the guy a couple times. What did he hit him with? I think there was, definitely.
It was a bunch of strikes and it was very fast. I couldn't tell you exactly, but like that was like the Tim that I've been seeing in the room in those moments, Like Tim, his striking is just like he sits in his base, he moves well while maintaining his base, and he throws the correct strikes at the right time. I know he hit him with a head kick at one point did some damage.
I think that was in the first. I think that was part of like I think he wobbled him with multiple things.
Yes.
And and he stole that round.
Absolutely.
He brought that round back out, and that was his round. And the scorecards did reflect that.
Yeah.
At the end.
If the Tim in those moments would have been there the whole fight, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap. So we go into the second round, and we just don't have the performance that we're looking for. Moments of it look great, right? Like when he's getting his striking going, he's committing, he's getting in the pocket. He's winning. He's winning. And then, there's moments where he's just like not really reacting in the manner in which you would expect him to react.
Right, yeah. Some acceptance of position.
Acceptance of position. That's the number one thing that I would see, was just like, it's like almost like I felt like there were moments in the fight where Tim stopped fighting.
Right.
Where he like watched fighting happen to him.
Yes.
So he ended up losing that round, giving up some takedowns and some positioning in that round as well. So now it's split. It's 1-1 going into the third round, and it's a make or break it round. In the third round, fairly similar to the second round. Tim with some good striking exchanges. But just like actually in the second round, there was a cool takedown defense. The guy lifted Tim and carried him over to his corner. And then on the takedown, Tim scrambled it through and ended up on top.
Right.
In which the kid ended up scrambling back up, and they were both on the feet again. But that's great late stage takedown defense, and that's difficult stuff.
Yeah.
That's difficult stuff there.
I think that's kind of like the theme of this fight is moments of brilliance.
Yes.
Mixed in with just a little too much of accepting poor positions.
Yeah, accepting these poor positions. And it's just stuff that like I've seen Tim deal with in the training room. I know Tim knows what to do there. It's just like, the moment got to him, I think, a little bit in that fight. So the third round went very similar to the second round. and dropped the decision 2-1. Right call, you know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know, I think we won that round and this round. No, I thought Tim won the first round, and that was represented on the scorecards as it was a 29-28 unanimous decision. And the second and third rounds went to his opponent, which his opponent won the second and third rounds.
That was the correct scores. So, you know, I think this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, a classic example of, you know, not the skills lacking, but, you know, there just being a mental disconnect. And, you know, luckily for Tim, we've got some things planned that we think might be able to...
there are some things, like, you know, it's not the end of the road. There are some things that you can do to overcome that, and that is what this level is for.
Exactly.
That is why you're fighting amateur fight right now. You know, it's for this. It's to feel these things out. You know what I mean? And I think we've got some good answers for Tim, and I think, you know, we'll see a strong bounce back from him.
And I think one thing that's really important too, before we move on, that, you know, you mentioned earlier and we've talked about, is that it's not like those sort of like performance anxieties. It's not something that you just overcome and then that's that. You know, it's not like a video game where it's like you've acquired this skill and then you just hold it forever. Like it's a diminishing thing, you know.
Yes.
It's the way you described it earlier. You don't buy it, you rent it. And that's something that I dealt with in my boxing career, you know, is that like I faced crazy performance anxiety at times, and there were times that I overcame it and I was like, right on, got that fixed, and then it can catch right back up. So, you know.
That's like unique. Like I had similar experiences. What's weird though is like I feel like I never had any type of nerves competing like my whole life. Like like I remember people talking about how nervous they would get before like football games or wrestling matches, and like I was like, dude, like I've just never been nervous. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've never been nervous about like competing, right? And then in MMA, obviously I would get nervous like at times of perceived pressure, you know? But funny enough, the worst that I've ever had to deal with like something similar to this was post MMA career jiu-jitsu competition.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you know, you've already like basically like I'm retired from MMA. So like, all right, like now you're just in like fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was the worst. It was the worst. Like I specifically remember matches just like watching people do things to me. Right? Like I'd be winning. Like I had a go here in my black belt career where I was 11-4, and all 4 of my losses were to leg locks. And in all 4 of those losses, I was winning at the time of the leg lock. Like I was winning, you know? That's not true. One of them was an ADCC West Coast Trials, and there was no score in the first, you know what I mean? I mean, I didn't score either. But like I was doing like, you know, well.
Right, yeah.
Considering. And then like I just like watch these dudes, like I'm like, oh, he's gonna do this, and then he's gonna pass my leg over, and then he's gonna separate them, and I'm just like watching it go down. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
It's almost like you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Like a first person movie.
Yeah. And I'm the most mature I've ever been. I've literally finished the career that mattered. The career that mattered was my MMA career. Like, this doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
This is for just like because you like to do jiu-jitsu. Right. It's like it's only as important as you want it to be.
Right.
You know? And like, yeah, dealing with that. And then I did some exercises. I utilized some tools. I did some research. And I dramatically overcame that. And I made a difference in my performance that I feel like if I had those tools earlier, like I would have done better in MMA. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would have freed me up to compete more. Right? I think that's one of the big things I would have given the more you fight, the more opportunities you have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like when you're trying to like, you know, there were times in my career where I may have been trying to like get the right fight. Like, oh, I don't know if I'm that level yet. Maybe if I beat this guy, I'll be that level later.
Right.
Type of thing. Right. You know what I mean? And with the mindset that I gathered through, you know, the training and the resources that I sought out and the exercises that I did, I would have fought a lot more. You know, if I could have got myself in that mindset, right? And I got myself in that mindset, and I had one of the best performances of my life in jiu-jitsu, right? Like I just like completely was like a different person. I had a great tournament, and like it's about performance. It's not about winning. I did win the tournament. I did win the tournament, but winning or losing, it's about performing. And you know, as an athlete, all the athletes out there, you know, you've won matches that you're like, I didn't perform well, and you've lost matches that you were like, dude, I was I was doing great.
Yeah.
You know, I've lost matches where I was like, yo, I was like, that's the best I've ever done.
Yep.
Like, oh, you lost. Well, that's also the best guy I've ever gone against. Right. There's different levels and stuff. So you got to judge yourself off your performance, you know? And I was like, I got it. I nailed it down. I'm a mental master now. I completely control my own mind. And I had it, and I owned it. And then I went to Las Vegas, and I competed in a tournament, and I was like, what's happening? Because I quit. I quit working on it. I thought I had overcome it. Like as if like, it's like if you learn like a double leg. It's like, oh, that's how you do it? Okay, I did it. I've got it now. And like...
No more practice on that.
You don't need to practice it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like, come on, dude. Like, you know what I mean? What was I thinking? You need to continue to practice it. You know, it's something that needs to stay sharp. It's something that needs to stay working on. And, you know, like, I mean, dude, this is the good part about, like, why I still compete. Number one, I like to do it. Number two, it motivates me. And number three, dude, I just learned something. Like, I'm a professional MMA coach. I learned something in my post-MMA career jiu-jitsu fun that is going to benefit my fighters long term. You know what I mean? So like still getting like that like touch and feel out there. But like that's one of the biggest things I took away is like, you know, and like at least I learned it in something that didn't matter.
Like, yeah, dude.
Like,
yeah. Dude, that's crazy that you like, because I have like the opposite experience with jiu-jitsu because my boxing, you know, I boxed for Penn State and all I wanted to do was be a national champion. That's just like, that was my life for 4 years. And I remember exactly what you're talking about when you're like watching someone, and I can see it right now in my head. I fought this kid from Navy one time, and I just watched overhands like in slow motion, and like I mean, we've sparred plenty of times. I'm very hard to hit, and this dude hit me with like 1,000 overhands and just boom. And I'm just like, why did I let him hit me? And then after I was done boxing, I was like, yo, I'm done fighting. And, you know, got into jiu-jitsu, you know, for fun. And so I could be a coach and all kinds of other reasons. And I would do jiu-jitsu tournaments and I would go in and I was like, dude, all these like white belts and blue belts and whatever are like nervous. And I'm like, that's the worst thing that could happen to me. Like, I don't care at all.
Right.
And that was like the first time that I was able to compete above like my, you know, regular level. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't care. You know?
I can completely relate because it's the same thing with my jiu-jitsu. Like the worst thing that happens is I tap, except not. Because at my level, these dudes are tearing your legs apart, dude.
I was gonna say,
and like, dude, in competition, like the craziest thing about like, so these higher levels, not that I'm at the highest level, but like I'm very near it. But in these competitions, like most of matches that end via leg lock also end via injury.
Yes. Yes.
It's an injury, you know? It's not just like oh, you get put in like a rear naked choke. All right, you got it.
Right.
Like, or you maybe even pass out and you wake up and you're like, oh man, I feel kind of goofy. That's cool. You know? No, it's injury. We were at the Nashville Open and I ended up getting injured there. My ankle got popped. And the trainers are wrapping it up with ice or whatever. And like, they're talking, they're like, oh, they're like, they weren't jiu-jitsu people. They were like hired like athletic
ATs,
trainers. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, and I was the first match of the tournament, and I was like countering a leg lock, and his counter was to like shove my foot, and it wasn't even like a leg lock. It just like kind of like a freak accident. Like my toe got brought to my shin, like just off of this shove, and popped my ankle pretty bad. So I'm getting taped up, or I'm getting ice like wrapped onto me with like, you know, they put the ice bag on you and then the plastic it up so it stays on for a while. And like the gi was the day before the gi tournament, right? Now this is the no gi tournament. And I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh, like, you know, we didn't have to, it wasn't too bad yesterday. And I was like, today's going to be different.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to be dealing with this all day today. I was like, anybody who's wearing, because it's IBJJF, so you wear your ranked rash guard, and heel hooks are not legal at purple, blue, and white. Well, there's no white no-gi, purple and blue, only at brown and black. I was like, anybody wearing a brown shirt and a black shirt, you're going to be doing this a lot too. And I was like, so in gi, these leg locks, these heel hooks are not available, but they are available in no-gi, and they're a pretty prominent portion of it. And we're only allowed it at those levels. And I was like, and a win via that means that someone is injured.
Badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, dude. I
It
was
is
like,
what it
literally, anybody who gets leg locked today will be seeing you. And I would venture to say that about 30% of matches finished by submission will be a leg lock, and that will be your day's over injury.
Dude, when I ran that Metamoris tournament, it was the same thing. Like,
Oh yeah,
dude, I forgot about that. Which, by the way, which Gracie was that? Halleck?
yeah, Alec.
Halleck, you're a punk. You still owe me money. But
I think. I hope it's Alec.
if it's not, I'm sorry. But whichever Gracie it is, you're a punk. And dude, that tournament, like, dude, everyone was getting their legs just ripped off. I remember being like, yo, this sucks. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But anyways, getting back on topic here.
Oh, that was just all about like mental performance.
Right. But or do you got anything else to add about that, or should we get to the last fight?
Last fight. Let's get to the last fight.
All right. So last fight we had Mason in his second pro fight. First round, he's doing pretty well.
Wins the first round.
He's landing some strikes.
Landing some elbows. He did get taken down, but he reversed the position. He ended up on top, finished the round on his opponent's back.
Yep, looking for a choke.
Yeah. So he won the first round. He did some good stuff, like controlled the clinch, controlled the cage, landed some elbows from inside there, threw some knees and stuff like that.
Yeah, had a couple nice head kicks. Generally a good round for Mason. I was happy with it. And in the second round, his opponent started to really kind of like take more control in the clinch, a little bit more active, a little bit better position. He had Mason, pressed into the cage a lot. I forget, were there takedowns in the second?
Yes.
Why don't you go? You got a better memory than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it exactly blow for blow. The fight was not as fast-paced as, we're accustomed to, but these are pro fights, so the rounds are a little longer. This was a little bit more of a grinded out. His opponent was was more aggressive in the second and third rounds. And, that was a cardio issue there, like, and when your cardio goes in a fight, you start looking for home runs, right? And then, like, when they don't land, that's a defeat. When it doesn't land, it's a defeat. So in the second round, Mason did end up getting taken down, and then he was hunting some submissions from the guard, which is, like, a little bit old school now. Like,
Yeah.
And, like, here's the thing, though. Like, he was doing it right. Like, he had a couple arm bars locked on. But when they defend, there's a separation, and that separation needs to be taken advantage of in a scramble.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think one of the things that might have really, like, kind of, like, stunted the morale was Mason took a really good double leg early in the second round, but did not run his feet through. He got to the legs and stopped. And then his opponent
flattened him out.
Yep, got some hips on him and defended the double leg. And I feel like that was like it's one of the things that, like, you can't let a failed takedown stop you from shooting takedowns, right? Like, it's mixed martial arts. You got to, if you want to perform at, like, your highest ability level, you got to be mixing it, because if you have a strong threat of a takedown, the striking's easier, right? If you have strong striking, that takedown's easier. Like, they are very symbiotic, the way that they work together.
And what you said is really important, is that one failed shot shouldn't discourage you from shooting again.
No.
Like, if you look at I don't know who shoots, like Merab Dvalishvili.
Yeah.
Like, he'll have a fight where he gets, like, whatever, like 7 takedowns in a fight, but then look at the attempted takedowns. It's like
21.
Yeah. So it's like, no one has an 100% takedown rate.
Right.
So that's definitely something that I think could have helped if he continued to search for takedowns. And also what you were saying.
Dude, the other way to look at it is just like in your percentages, dude. Like, okay, like, all right, your first takedown didn't work, so you're 0 for 1. Like, are you telling me that are you going to go 0 for 10?
Right.
And like, dude, like, you know what I mean? If you're like, oh man, like, even like someone who's a better wrestler than me, like, I'm like, yeah, dude, like, if we wrestle, like, I'll get like 1 out of 10 takedowns. You know what I mean? Well, then you better shoot 10 times. You better, like, to put the odds in your favor.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You better shoot. So, and then once you get that takedown, that, like, the failed takedowns, as long as they're not catastrophic, like face in the dirt takedowns,
right?
Like, a failed takedown attempt is the same as, like, getting a punch parried or slipped.
Right.
You know what I mean? Actually, it's still kind of, like, offensive. Like, if you drive them a little bit,
absolutely,
like, boom, you drive it, like, oh, didn't finish takedown, came up. Like, that was an offensive motion.
Yeah. It's like landing it's like landing a hard punch that hits someone in the arm. Yeah. It's like it did some damage, I guess, or it did something.
Yeah. It did something. Maybe not takedowns, maybe not damage, but, like, creating a reaction, creating a thought process. Like even a stuffed takedown now makes striking easier because there's a like, oh yeah, that's right. Remember to worry about that.
The threat is still there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
So-
I think between that and kind of what you were saying about, you know, just like the game evolving to a point where you can't really scramble to guard positions. You have to try to scramble back up. I think that was a big thing as well. There were times where he would, you know, start a scramble, start to work his way up, and then end up like accepting a half guard or even like pulling a half guard or trying to get to like an ashi position.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially later in rounds when, you know, guys are slick, like that's just not a winning strategy anymore in MMA, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of anyone in the past however many years who like hunts for leg locks and gets them in MMA? Like,
well, I mean, like Ryan and Gary, but like they're
well, Ryan's a great example. You know, as soon as he starts hitting those top level guys, it doesn't work. Gary, same thing actually. When he fought,
I mean, I disagree with that like vehemently.
well, who has Gary fought in MMA that you would put at like super, you know, like we'll call it, I don't know, top 10, 20% echelon.
Well, I don't know, but I know that every single one of his pro fights has been in ONE FC. He has no regional level experience. I know he has one loss, and that's to the champ Ton Lee, right? Who was coached by Ryan Hall. So I know that, you know, and I know that like you wouldn't say Izzy sucks at striking because he's gotten knocked out. Oh, you know what? Striking doesn't work in MMA. I mean, like, look what happened when Izzy, you know, fought Sean Strickland. Like, just proves striking doesn't work. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say that at all about these guys. So who did
I understand what you're saying.
Ryan
That's
Hall
not
was the champ?
I mean, fair enough.
Is
but
that guy now the champ?
okay, Ryan Hall's
not?
student just fought who did this exact same thing. He was just like dropping into leg locks and just.
I'm not saying it's the best strategy, but I'm certainly like it's like doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like it worked for Gary 8 times.
Yeah. Okay.
And ONE FC.
Let me rephrase.
He wasn't fighting over here like in the regionals.
Let me rephrase then. For the vast majority of people, okay, would you say that Gary is in the top 1% of leg lockers in MMA?
Yes.
All right, so I would say outside of, I mean, I think he's even higher than that. We'll call it 0.01% or whatever. Outside of like
MMA leg lockers, I mean, he's got to be top 3.
ever, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would say him, Toquinho.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Gary might be number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Ryan Hall and Gary are both definitely better leg lockers than Husmar Pahalis.
Yeah, Husmar Pahalis really was like a product of the times.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good leg locker.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
clearly
yeah,
a good
yeah.
leg locker. But, like, you know what I mean? I'm just like,
Regardless,
there's nobody better than those
let's
two.
put it this way. If we remove the outliers, generally speaking, trying to play off of your back, trying to get submissions off of your back, generally in MMA is not a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
If you're using it and staying on your back. If you're using it to get up. When I fought John Del Bruges, he got a takedown on me and I went for an armbar. Was that dumb? Oh, no, because what did he do? He pulled his arm out to defend the armbar. And what did I do? Stood up.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I think that's like probably the number one asset of like having, you know, jiu-jitsu tools off of your back is it provides those opportunities to scramble.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we saw lacking in Mason, you know, too much commitment to those submissions off of his back. Or not I shouldn't say that. Too much commitment to staying in that position after that, you know, submission was defended. So I think that's kind of the story of both the second and third round.
Yeah, just accepting the bottom position, and being willing to stay there, you know. And like to his own admission, it was cardio. You know, he just like gassed out, you know, and like, you know, that's only, you know, you're in these 15-minute fights. That's nothing to shake a stick at. Those are tough. That's a tough place to be. 15 minutes in a fight, and like the pace does change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're fighting at a different pace. Like that's one of the things that I noticed about when I moved to I vaguely remember. I remember it from MMA, you know, the change of pace. But it was like a big notice in jiu-jitsu going from like at lower belt level 6-minute matches to my 10-minute matches at black belt. It's like, oh, dude, to be honest, I did some 10-minute matches. And then I did a 6-minute match, which was ADCC scoring. Dude, it was way more tiring than that 6-minute match. because the pace was way higher. In a 10-minute match, dude, we both have to do this.
Yeah.
It's not just me, it's you and your opponent. In a 15-minute fight, it's you and your opponent. You both have to do it. Like, you know what I mean? So you gotta make sure that you understand your pacing, and you gotta make sure that, like, you know, you have the cardio to go your pace for 15 minutes.
And the tools to control
whether your pace is like that up and down, which most people, it's like, you know, they have like they fight at certain percentages,
right?
You know,
yeah, and that's actually interesting too, and that's like a big part of being a pro is knowing whether you're going to fight at 20% here and then 80% for a little bit and then back down, or if you're going to be like, you know, a Nick Diaz and just fight at 50% for
the whole fight,
you know, 25 minutes straight. So yeah, I mean, lessons to be learned.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was that night. You know, good win for Josh. Tough performances for Tim and Mason.
But again, teachable moments. You know, there's things that I think you and I know, you know, they can work on, and that we can do to, you know, help facilitate that.
Yep, for sure. All right, so let's move on to the upcoming weekend. All right, we got Brittany Sunshine Bickhart making her pro debut in Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania, just a little bit outside the Poconos. This Saturday for Maverick MMA. And really excited for it. It's a long time coming. Brittany made the decision to pursue full-time MMA a little over a year ago now. I think the ultimate decision, I think it was made around, like, I think the date was like January 14th, you know? And then that was like a 2-week notice thing. So like basically February of last year. So she's been a full-time fighter for over a year now. You know, we were originally looking to turn her pro in July, but, like, you know, it's like, hey, let's not rush this. Like, we're seeing dramatic improvements. Let's keep it moving. And then we had the opportunity. We took a short notice pro debut for LFA, right? Signed the contract, and then shortly thereafter, the opponent withdrew from the match, which, like, you know, was, you know, sad because it was a great matchup for Brittany.
Very disappointing.
She was in a strong spot, but she's twice as good now.
Yeah.
Went looking for fights in October. No success, you know. December, we got a fight with 247, a good opponent. But the opponent had done a boxing match early November and had gotten knocked out, and at the time was not suspended from it, and everything was good. And then, like, 2 weeks before, an anonymous phone call to the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission, and an email with a video of the fight that happened. I mean, like, it happened. It was oversaw by the Athletic Commission. There were no suspensions. Now, all of a sudden, there's a post-dated suspension, which canceled that fight, you know. So, and honestly, it feels like it's been, like, just, like, fight fall through after fight fall through. But it has not been that long.
Well, and also, to add on to those, how many fights did we have that were verbally accepted and then things fell through? Like, there's been a lot of them. So,
yeah,
you know, it's been a little up and down for Brittany, you know, mentally.
Yeah.
Just, like, getting prepared for a fight, and then it doesn't happen.
But here we are. We're less than a week out. Like, at this time next week, it will be over. It will be over. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. Plan on having an episode being filmed out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so, I mean, she's been working so hard. I've never seen her more sharp. She's the best she's ever been. She's been dedicated for that whole entire year. She spent a good portion of this camp actually away up in Long Island and New Jersey, being Caitlin Chukagian, Caitlin Sermonaris, training partner for her UFC 299 fight against Macy Barber. So she got a lot of experience, you know, training with, you know, the number 4 ranked woman, you know, in the flyweight division. So a lot of good, like, confidence, a lot of good lessons, you know, exposure to, like, what the level is like.
Exactly.
You know? So really excited to watch Brittany go ahead and showcase, you know, her complete self. And, like, I have a strong belief in Brittany's mentality more than anything.
Yes.
Right? Like, that dog mentality, like, you know, very technical and thoughtful with technique, but when push comes to shove,
she's about it.
Yeah. You know, and that's what I want. Like, my ideal fighter is, like, a technical wizard, right? Like, just clean technique, But when going gets tough, right? Just like bite down and
Yup.
get it.
Yup.
Get it. Like you got to have that in you. You got to have that in you where you just like, let's go. Like the whole shield thing. Like, you know what I mean? Come back with your shielder on it.
Yup.
You know, and
She
like,
lives that.
she lives it. You know, so I have no worries in that aspect.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm very, very excited for this fight.
Yep.
Also, fun fact about where she's fighting: same venue that Brody head kick KO to dude. So
Oh, there we go.
I've already got
There we
good
go.
vibes there.
Good vibes. Hopefully we don't win by head kick KO though.
I would be happy for head kick KO.
I wouldn't. I'd be disappointed. I'd be sad. I want a nice, strong, I want some good striking, you know, to set the tone, some ruggedness in there, some speed. I want a nice big takedown, guard pass to mount. I want elbows from mount. I want that. I want a struggle to turn over, right? Like trying to give up my back. Nope. Bang. Nope. Bang. That's what I want. So let's see who gets what they want. Come Saturday night. All right.
Yeah. Either way, it's gonna be good.
Either way. Brittany did a raffle for the Brittany bucket hat. Congratulations to the 3 winners. Patrina, Jesse Florentino's mom, won. I believe she is gifting her hat to Jesse.
Oh.
Brian Mitchell, part of the fight team,
Mm-hmm.
he is one. He's a big Brittany supporter. Brittany is his coach.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not his coach. Brittany is his coach. Brian's a tough guy. Love that kid. Training super hard. But he won one of the hats. And then Ryan Rice, my mainest man, dude. Zeeley's own Ryan Rice won the 3rd hat. And there was a 4th hat that Mike tax. Any of the fighters, if you make gear, there's a tax. You give me it for free. If you were raffling off 3, then you make 4 and give me 1. That's
the mic tax.
The mic tax. Yeah. All right. So that about wraps it up for us. This was another riveting episode of Listen to Your Coaches. Stay tuned. You know, obviously we're going to have a big breakdown about Brittany's fight weekend. You know, big trip. Myself, Will, and Ryan 3K will be heading out with Brittany, doing fight week out there. So, you know, hopefully we'll be able to hit you with some behind the scenes stuff, you know, and we're going to have a good time. All right. We'll see you guys next time.